So we're supposed to get some rain, but Tiffany's so stylish that she's matching her cup.
I did not mean to do that.
Even her cup, it's purple on the inside.
Like a pinkish purple shirt.
Purplish mauve,
My
black,
flag outside.
and then the white with the doggy. With the black cup.
Mm-hmm.
That's trendy.
Yeah, I am trendy that way, aren't I?
So it's a little chilly today. We've got rain while the rest of the country is under the ring of fire heat wave. Yeah, by the way, the bell you were just hearing is sort of the church bells that go off in town, if you could hear that. But I got more Model T parts to put on today. Brass caps, brass headlight supports, brass headlight rings, and yes, those brass headlights were antique ones. They were old ones
from the last video.
Person that actually asked that question. And I've got more motometer stuff. This is the brass radiator cap that it goes on, and these heavy duty brass step plates. So I got my work cut out for me. It'll look cool when it's done.
And when we say cold, we mean I don't even think it's reached 60 degrees today.
Yeah.
So we have sweaters on and jackets and.
So that's why summers are so wonderful in North Dakota, because they are just about mild. I think we were up to, like I said, there in that car show week, we were at what, 85, 6, and with humidity, that can be a little bit warm. And the humidity can be high sometimes, but not a whole lot of rain. I think this is probably the first rain we've had in.
This has been a dry year for us.
Yeah, I think it's weeks since we've had a rain, though it can be humid, so the crops really do really well here. The ground's absolutely, you can't find a rock. Big difference from when we were in Idaho, where you couldn't get the shovel in the ground because of all the rocks. But here, it's you stick the shovel, you can drive a pole into the ground and not hit a rock, 4 or 5 feet. Usually you have to, if we were doing our fence posts, I think I made sure that I used 10-foot poles in order to have a 4-foot rise on a fence post. So 6 feet went in the ground and it just sinks right in. So, but on with our subject matter.
I feel like our angle's a little bit different. I have sort of a bigger centerpiece on my table, and I didn't want to mess it up, so I've kind of got things propped up a little bit, so I apologize if it's kind of a different angle than normal.
But that gives us plenty of headroom to put all the scriptures we're going to have today.
Yeah. So for today's breakfast soapbox, we're going to answer a question. So to start off, we just want to say we really appreciate your encouraging comments.
And I want to say to that, if we don't get to your comment, realize that it's kind of surprising how unserviceable a venue that YouTube can be for comments, given that's a big majority of what goes on besides the videos. But sometimes we won't even get a notification that we've gotten a comment, especially if it's a reply to a comment. A lot of times we won't even see them. So
We're
just
not
realize,
ignoring you.
realize that's the case. And if you really want to contact us with something important, your story or something like that, or it's a really important response, unassigned blog at gmail.com is going to be the best way to get across.
Yeah, so with those comments, we've received a lot of good, honest, hard questions. And some of them are duplicate questions from several viewers, so we thought it might be beneficial to other viewers if we shared the scriptural responses in some videos as a breakfast soapbox.
And if you have any questions that you want us to consider, feel free to send them and we'll try to bring out the scriptures that will help you answer your question. If you wish to remain anonymous, just mention that in your question and we'll keep it anonymous as well.
Yeah, so please keep in mind that the answers given should not come from us. Like, you're not asking what our personal opinion is on whatever subject.
Right, like they say about opinions, either their noses or another body part, they all smell, or everybody has them and they all smell, I think is how the saying goes. But
so instead of getting our opinion, it would be better if you got it from God's word. We truly believe that scripture in 2 Timothy 3:16, where it says it makes the godly person fully equipped for every good work.
Yeah, or in other words, when it's all said and done, you should be able to answer your question for someone else as if they were asking it, using only the Bible.
Right. So on to our question. We have a viewer, Auntie M, sent us several good questions, so let's just start with a couple of hers. I have her question here. So her question is, Why are they hiding behind the two-witness rule when it comes to child sex abuse when they are so concerned with non-married people having sex? And why did Jeffrey Jackson lie under oath, saying it would be presumptuous to say that they are God's only spokespersons here on earth when questioned? Why did others lie and avoid answering questions? I was told it isn't wrong because it was done under spiritual warfare. What? I was taught a lie is a lie, even a little white lie. I don't understand. Of course, I have major issue with the child sex abuse, maybe triggered due to all me and my daughter had went through.
And she told us her story and said we could use that as much as we needed to. And for this purpose, it's not necessary. If she would like to reveal her story, we'd do that personally. But it just gets us a little background of why this is a sensitive subject for her.
But thank you for your question.
Absolutely.
We'll address it here.
And there are a few questions here, so let's separate them to sort of an A and a B part. The A part being the child sex abuse. So you want to read that part of the question just one more time there.
Why are they hiding behind the two-witness rule when it comes to child sex abuse when they are so concerned with non-married people having sex?
So that's a great comparison because now you're comparing adultery or fornication, which is a sex act, and they will research that to the nth degree to get the confession out of them or whatever. And yet, with the child sex abuse, it seems like that kind of flows under the radar. But in reality, we have to say that the two-witness rule also applies to couples having sex. A confession or two witnesses to the preponderance of the act is necessary.
The preponderance of the act would be like going into a hotel or a house and not coming out for a while, for example.
Exactly. But in many cases, it boils down to Pharisaic scriptural ignorance. For example, a married woman and a man who had sex in the city were to be stoned.
Of course, if caught at the mouth of two witnesses or a confession.
Right. The reason being because she didn't scream, and she would have been heard if she did scream. And then obviously, if she did and she was heard, the man would be the only one who was guilty and would be stoned. Now, a lot of people want to denounce that scriptural law, but there are a few things that someone should consider before criticizing the law. One, cities weren't like the cities of today. There were narrow streets and pathways of densely populated people, several families living under one household. Your neighbors, you knew them more intimately. So the dynamics were a little bit different. Now, true, when the law was written, they didn't have these cities set up yet for that short period of time before Jerusalem was set and the rest of the Israelite territories were divvied out. But the reality is that much of the law pertained to this period of time. So you think about a society that lives under one law of serving Jehovah.
I just stopped for the field waterfall.
We always have children checking out our little pond waterfall in the corner.
We'll cut all that out. Where was I?
Got a funny story about that, though.
Are we really going to go there?
Off script.
All right, fine, off script. So, I've got a cold one day, and I'm sleeping in one of the other rooms because we barely ever spend any time apart.
We've never slept apart.
But I had such a bad cold, I didn't want Tiffany to get it, so I slept in a different room. She comes bursting in the door, and it was summertime. I had the
Midnight.
AC on, and it was midnight. She's like, "Chad, somebody's peeing in her pond." So I jump up out of bed in my underwear, and I run downstairs, and sure enough, there's this teenager peeing in my pond. His friends are laughing, whatever else. So he takes off on his bicycle, and I take off on foot in my underwear, running after him down the street. And I kept up pretty decent, too, through the field until we got to the railroad tracks. And they've got, those rocks that are like this big and they're sharp edges and cut that they use for bedding underneath the railroad tracks. And he lost me there. So I'm walking back across the field from the railroad tracks after losing this kid. And the cop comes along and he sees me walking, towards the street with my underwear on. He pulls up and he's like, Mr. Lombardi, the bad guy's over there. Anyway, so then we jumped in the truck. I'm still in my underwear, and we're cruising the town looking for these kids. And we did find the group of kids that was with that guy. Pulled the truck up on the sidewalk, shined the headlights on them. I'm like, spill your guts now before I spill your blood, basically. And they did tell us who the kid was, and he ended up caught and had to go to court and whatever else.
Some sort of mediation or something.
Yeah, and they wanted me to make him do restitution and stuff. I'm like, I'm not going to force him to do anything. That's not real repentance. He knows what he did that was wrong. If he wants to do real repentance, we run the car show. He can come over and scrub the pond. He knows where I live. Of course he didn't. But if I'd have enforced restitution, he wouldn't have respected me. He'd have just been vengeful.
Yep.
And the reality is that this way he got respect for me, realized he wasn't going to get away with it, but at the same time respected that I wasn't holding his hand over the fire, so to speak. That's our off-script moment for that one. Where were we? Okay, so scrutinizing the law, or criticizing the law, really. Talked about how cities were a society of individuals that had the same belief system. They all worshiped Jehovah. It was a walled city that they'd literally closed the gates, so it's not like there were fields or big central parks or something like that. It was simply a living arrangement and protection. It was, again, a almost family-like arrangement because they all were brothers, even as the law stipulates. So the cities back then were a little different than the one we have now, where it's mixed cultures, mixed beliefs, and whatever else, and also not confined by walls or the like. So why was the scream required? Well, because morality was required. She had to present proof of her virginity at the consummation of her marriage. And that evidence was held by the family to protect the woman from accusation down the road from her husband. If he says, oh no, she wasn't a virgin when I married her. Well, yes, the family has the proof of that. But let's say that a couple has sex and keeps it on the down low without getting married. And by the way, that's what consummated the marriage. That's what consummation means. It's the finalization of the marriage arrangement. Her knowing her life is on the line if she later gets married and is found out that she's not a virgin, she could possibly make the accusation that she was raped trying to cover her back. And in this way, it was a protection against also a false accusation in the city. And this does happen today. People get falsely accused of rape, falsely accused of sex acts they didn't commit. So that was one way to protect against a false accusation that she had to scream out. Now, there's still the possibility of her making the accusation in the field, which we'll get into in just a second. But that's the power of a chaperone and the lesson of the story of Dinah, when you consider it. So, back to that part about the woman in the field. Her scream could not be heard if she was in the field, if she even did scream. Therefore, the circumstantial dynamics of the sin were that there was only one witness to that event. And by her single accusation, the man was put to death.
And no doubt any evidence of her lost virginity, if she wasn't married, strengthened her claim.
True. This is very obviously similar in situation to the case of child sex abuse. The circumstantial dynamics of the sin would be only one witness. Now, I know some people want to get into the debate of, it's not a sin, it's a crime. Well, the reality is, sin was crime back then. They were both, we just drew out a scenario there that was punishable, that sin was punishable by death. So the reality is, sin was a crime. So back to the point, scriptural ignorance would be the only excuse here when it comes to child sex abuse. But it seems there's a more dubious reason than that.
The second, more dubious reason boils down to money.
It would be difficult to sue the organization if an elder committed adultery with a congregation member's wife. So the powers that be are free to investigate down to the righteous end, because the organization really can't be sued if they find guilt. It's not a crime in most countries, though a sin. As mentioned earlier, it was a crime punishable by death in the law. Again, sin was a crime. But back to the point. If the sin is toward a child and they find proof of guilt, that's tantamount to an admission of a crime in most countries, and evidence in a court of law if they're sued.
Yes. So it benefits them financially to hide the wrongdoing at any cost, saying, leave it in Jehovah's hands, as we hear so many say.
So on to the B part. Jeffrey Jackson's ARC, Australian Royal Commission testimony. You want to read that series of questions again?
Yep, so that second part. Why did Jeffrey Jackson lie under oath, saying that it would be presumptuous to say that they are God's only spokespersons here on earth when questioned? Why did others lie and avoid answering questions? I was told it isn't wrong because it was done under spiritual warfare. What? I was taught a lie is a lie, even a little white lie. I don't understand. She goes on.
So we'll take that first part, and then we'll meld into the rest. If Jeffrey Jackson would have boldly stood up like Jesus before Pilate as a witness to the nations and stated, yes, we are God's only channel of communication, that incredulous statement would have put the subject under the microscope to be closely examined before him, along with the litany of errors that they've made as being a channel or the only channel from God. But more to the point, it could be powerfully argued both scripturally and with the evidence that in that point, Jeffrey Jackson actually told the truth in answering that question. It's the literature that continually says they're God's channel that's the lie. But let's move on to the second part of the question about why they think they can lie in courts with doublespeak as spiritual warfare. Once again, scriptural ignorance, or twisted scripture, to their benefit is a possible culprit. Because, of course, we all know Jehovah does not and cannot lie.
We also know, going a step beyond that in principle, Jesus, in imitation of his Father, did not even deceive, which could be misleading without actually lying.
True. We also know congregation members are not to lie to one another.
And a Christian is to put away falsehood toward his neighbor.
And hopefully they aren't stupid enough to play the avoidance game by asking, well, who really is my neighbor? And Paul, under inspiration, said to be in subjection to the superior authorities, giving them the honor that they request. And when you go to a court of law, you put your hand sometimes on the Bible and say, are you going to tell the truth and the whole truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Nothing but the truth. I should say that again. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus said that would even be a witness to them.
Right. And Jesus, in fact, did so himself when he was before Pilate. Now, first, it must be noted that there is nothing wrong with remaining silent before accusers who may twist our words, because they're not really looking for the truth, just as Jesus did much of the time before Pilate.
But that's quite different than misleading with doublespeak, playing dumb, or telling outright lies.
Right. So where do they get this idea that they can perpetrate untruth under oath or any other time it's convenient for them? It comes from the misapplication of 1 Kings 22:19-23. They use this example to defend their misleading because it appears to be the case here that Jehovah leads the angel to fool Ahab. But under examination, we can easily show that this is not the case, and they are just clearly using it as an excuse for their own heart's desire. Deception.
Which the scriptures clearly speak against.
Now, Jesus repeatedly gives us the most beautiful example of Proverbs 26:5 and sets the example for us in how to tie someone else in their own reasoning. So let's do that here, using a watchtower's own understanding. First, we see that 1 Kings 22:20 says that Jehovah asks the gathered angels, "Who will fool Ahab?" This seems to suggest that Jehovah is the originator of the eye to fool Ahab. But is that really the case? To answer that, let's consider Jesus, who, as we mentioned before, only does what he sees his Father do. So in John 13:27 we read,
And after the morsel, then Satan entered into the ladder. Jesus therefore said to him, What you are doing, get done more quickly.
So at the end of Passover here, was Jesus the originator of the idea and the one who put the thought into Judas to betray him? Or does the context of events show it's more reasonable that this thief of the money box already had this greedy idea to betray Jesus, and Jesus just read his heart and let Judas know that he knew what he was up to and didn't stop him? Likewise, with the situation of the angels in 1 Kings, it must be remembered that Jehovah is the reader of hearts. As a comparison, see Numbers 22:12, where Balaam is told not to go with Balak to curse Israel. Balaam complied. But in verse 20, we see Jehovah tell Balaam to go with the caveat that he only speaks what Jehovah tells him to speak. Again, Balaam complies. However, in verses 22 through 35, we see Jehovah is angry that Balaam goes.
And at Jehovah's apparent direction.
Right. And an angel even resists Balaam from going. Is Jehovah temperamental, indecisive, or split personality? Are there two different angels in the heavens acting for God, both in opposition to one another? The Watchtower and Insight book give this reasonable explanation, that Jehovah reads Balaam's heart and allows him to carry out his own heart's desire and free will, and that any such actions can be said to come from Jehovah because he allows it, much the way he allows the superior authorities to rule, though he doesn't directly support them in their rulership. So carrying this through to the principle of Proverbs 26:5, let's apply that Balaam situation reasoning to 1 Kings 22:19-23 with the angels. Could you please answer, Tiffany? What year does Watchtower say Jesus was enthroned and subsequently Satan and his demons cast down to the earth?
1914.
Then where were Satan and the demons previous to that?
Well, the first couple of chapters in Job, along with Revelation chapter 12, show that Satan was in the heavens.
So then, was it only righteous angels when present before Jehovah in the heavenly meeting in 1 Kings 22:19?
Well, not if what those scriptures in Job and Revelation tell us is true.
Furthermore, if Jehovah was speaking through his prophet Micaiah to warn Ahab, would Jehovah operate against himself and his prophet to deceive Ahab by the mouth of false prophets?
I guess not.
Because if Jehovah did so, wouldn't that mean that all false prophets would be right in saying that they speak from Jehovah?
Yeah, I guess it would.
Do Jesus' words at Matthew 12:25 and 26 answer that question? If you'd read that.
Knowing their thoughts, he said to them, Every kingdom divided against itself comes to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself will not stand. In the same way, if Satan expels Satan, he has become divided against himself. How then will his kingdom stand? Yeah, I guess that makes the principle pretty clear. Jehovah wouldn't operate against himself.
Is this not why they are much mistaken? So, since we know that Jehovah cannot lie and hates lies, as emphatically stated in Proverbs 6:16-19, and we know that John 8:44 says the father of the lie is Satan, Is Jehovah the instigator of deception to fool Ahab? Or is it more probable that he is reading the hearts of the angels and allowing one of them to work out his own desire as the angels are sorted for their actions, as humans will be, for righteous life or casting down to the earth and then eventual destruction? You are now armed with the scriptures, so you decide.
But with all their scriptural misapplication aside, sadly, once again, it boils down to money.
Point blank. To lie in court is to save millions of dollars. Jesus hated the fact that it was all about money, and so did his Father. They will so often quote the scripture about how if you sue your brother, and you shouldn't do that, why not let yourself be wronged? Well, again, Watchtower, why do you drag it to court? Why not let yourself be wronged? Because it's all about money.
There are more questions to answer coming, and if you have a question, feel free to ask, and we will do our very best to give scriptures that answer your questions. So in the meantime, like, subscribe, share, leave us a nice comment. So we left this morning for our trip. We've been on the road about 3 hours. 3 hours? I think we've been gone 3 hours. Probably well over 2 hours. We stopped and dropped our freight off, and now we are just driving through the Midwest.
On our way to?
We've got 3 drops.
Sunflower in the boat.
Oh, sorry. That yellow field over there. Sunflowers. I don't know if you can see that.
It's funny how we see people that I think it was on the news. They're a farmer that allowed city people to come to this sunflower field. They're trampling it, trying to get Instagram pictures. In fact, we can swing by any day of the summer just to get those pictures if we want.
Yeah. Having a hard time holding this camera. We have 3 drops this trip. We have just outside of Atlanta.
And you people drive like mad nuts there. Mad nuts. I think they have the worst drivers we've ever seen in Atlanta.
We've driven all over the country. We've Atlanta.
Jersey is post-packed, but and they're a little nuts, but nothing's at high speed there. Everybody's stuck in traffic.
So outside Atlanta, we have a drop.
There's a little sunflower field closer.
Then we have North Carolina coast.
Never been there.
It'll be the first time in North Carolina, actually, so that'll be nice to see. And then Florida again.
Nicest roads in the country.
And then we'll be headed back north to Tennessee, and then we'll go home. So
Talked to my sister, who happens to be a lawyer.
she's got a background with child abuse, dealing with
CPS lawyer for 1 year.
yes, child protective services, but child abuse is her she specializes in that as being an attorney. So
Child abuse thing with New York. And if that again sweeps the states, it'll be very interesting how that develops. If they're able to open up child abuse cases
yeah.
for a year, I think the stipulation is going back indefinitely.
Yeah, if you've got a case, bring it. They're basically saying
You've got a year to bring it. Yep. And there's no statute of limitations for that year. Just go ahead and bring it. So that would be fabulous to get those people who have been abused, and then on top of that, been treated insolently because of policy of an organization. Of course, we know what Watchtower has done in hiding those things, as opposed to paying up like they should. Oh, it's unspiritual to take your brother to court. Well, why don't you just let yourself be wrong? Indeed, Watchtower. Why didn't you just let yourself be wrong? Why didn't you give these people their due instead of worrying about covering up your brand and claiming that it's protecting Jehovah's name? Because Jehovah has never cared about protecting his name over righteousness. Righteousness takes first place. Caring for his people was first place. I'm on my rant.
It's good. I'm just watching the road.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, you should. We'll keep you guys updated on our trip and see you in the next clip. We're getting rock chips thrown all over us. This is a North Dakota site right here.
Going through Fargo.
Yeah.
Right through the city.
Right through the interstate and through Fargo. Gosh, he's like throwing crap all over us. You can't get over either.
Did he move? He didn't move.
Yeah. That thing's a big machine.
I don't know why they don't pull them. Well, I guess the outside wheels wouldn't be all you have to pull.
He's a monster. Here's a little update. We're going through, there we go. We just left Omaha maybe a little while ago, like 20 minutes ago. And this is the interstate. From flooding, it's completely eroding away.
Have to close a lane.
Yeah, we're only able to drive in one lane. We just thought maybe that would be interesting to somebody. Yeah, it's gonna end now. But they had I-29 like blocked off till June, I guess. Back there. There's all this flooding that happened in the spring. Remember all that flooding that they shut all this down? And anyway, we're on our way to Kansas City. Hopefully we'll be there in the next... How
3
far
hours.
is it?
161 miles, probably 150 now.
So that's only a couple hours. Yeah, like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Okay, another update. That little white dot is the moon. It's huge, but on camera it's tiny. We are trying tonight to make it to, this is St. Louis. We're gonna try to make it just past it. The city, we're like right here somewhere. And so we just have to get across Missouri to St. Louis. I got a new update.
This is why we like driving the cities in the middle of the night. St. Louis, 5 lanes of freeway, and nobody on them.
Barely. This is the most traffic I've seen in a little while. 3 cars.
And now we're down to 4 lanes, and there's 3 cars.
There's 3 cars.
We were 5 lanes back there, and there was nobody on them.
There was nobody. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're driving through St. Louis. We're trying to get through the city because during rush hour, during the city, any city, it's just torture for us because we're always so long and it's miserable driving.
And we don't know what traffic means.
You know what?
We don't know what traffic means up there.
Oh, we don't have traffic up in North Dakota. There's
We
not
don't
enough
even-
people in the state to make traffic.
We don't even bother counting in miles. We count in minutes.
Minutes, yeah, that's right. 60 miles is less than 60 minutes. Anyway, that's our update. I don't know how long we're gonna go tonight. Driving, we're gonna get through this city and then maybe find a place to fuel up. I don't know how we're gonna feel. We've still got another 45 minutes to get all the way through suburbia, so that's all we got right now.
So we got up about 7 a.m. this morning. We found a nice little gas station off the beaten path. No one was there. Slept till, we stopped I think at 2:30. Slept till, like I said, 7 or so, and now we're at a bigger truck stop, and I don't even know where the heck we are. Where are we? Mount Vernon. Getting ready to hit the road again. Got our first drop, and of course there's some narrow road up there. We had to back in through the field here. Really nice down here though. Now he'll tell us where to drop it off at exactly.
Time for an update. slept in South Carolina last night, and now we're heading to North Carolina on 95 to drop off the GT40. And they said it's supposed to be thunderstorming when we get there. Chad's enjoying his breakfast. He's got like a cinnamon roll.
Cinnabon.
My little Swiffer is enjoying her view
Of the Cinnabon.
of the Cinnabon. So we'll see how it is with the storms. It's supposed to be heavy thunderstorms by the time we get there, which I'm not excited about, but whatever. But so far we have had no major catastrophe except just driving through Atlanta traffic. That's been the worst catastrophe. I hate driving through there. It's boring.
The auxiliary pump went out though, the auxiliary tank. That's frustrating.
That is frustrating.
Pull over into some rest area because we're near. What that allows us to do is to run near empty. Without fears of going out of fuel because we can't find a gas station soon enough.
Yeah.
Truck stop.
So we have a, what is it? I think it's 30 gallons, 30 gallon auxiliary tank on the back of our truck. But the pump isn't working, so we can't pump any fuel out.
Here I pull into a rest area, turn it on, it works for about 2 gallons and shuts off. Oh, crap.
We had just enough fuel to just get to the next station, which wasn't too far, but it's frustrating because now we're hauling around an extra 30 gallons of fuel that really we can't even get out of our tank. So we could probably siphon it out, but we should just get our pump fixed to get that. So that's the worst of everything. So we have to stop pretty often. Like every 250 miles we have to stop, which I think is often.
Often for us.
Yeah. So that's my update for right now. So we're in North Carolina. Dropped off the GT40 kit car in this neighborhood, if you can believe that.
I'm literally line to line in width.
We are literally right on the ocean too, so it's kind of like there's like a bunch of docks, and I'll show you that when we get to the end of the road, end of this road. But we dropped it right here in this vicinity. Go around the corner.
But they've got oceanfront property here apparently.
It's like an inlet, so it's not, open ocean, but it's on, well,
Most places aren't.
yeah.
On the bay.
Yeah. It's irritating to see that. My facial moisturizer. We haven't had too much rain, but it started to just sprinkle pretty good when we were picking all the straps up and just getting ready to leave again. I don't know if we're going to run into more rain, but now we're on our way to, find some more fuel and get on 95 again, which will be in a couple of hours, and head south to Florida. Here's where the docks were. There. There's the docks.
Hopefully nobody comes flying around any of these.
Oh, okay, like that.
Yeah, if you showed my trailer in the mirror, I'm over the yellow line right now.
You're like driving through people's yards.
And I'm over the yellow line.
And he's on that side, you're over the yellow line.
Now I'm just.
I don't know if I can see it. Oh yeah, I can see it. That's this side. We get to see a lot of cool places though, traveling. Get to decide if we were going to relocate somewhere, where we would like it. So far, the humidity here is it's too much. It's too much for me.
Well, it
Maybe
ain't the
somebody like
humidity, it's the heat plus humidity.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. No, go to Seattle. There ain't nothing wrong with the humidity in Seattle.
It's cooler.
It's cool, but You add that heat with it, and it makes it absolutely no fun.
So that's my next update.
This thing is beautiful.
Update real quick. I'll do another video on the way back. Another update. I'll do another video on the way back too. We are almost to the drop location for my Fiat. We drove till about midnight, I guess, maybe a little later. I don't know what time it was. And we slept at a rest area and it was super comfortable. Florida rest areas are nice.
The weather's horrible to sleep in. Have to leave the truck in and the AC running as far as that goes. But yeah, the roads are awesome. The rest areas are awesome. You can always find a quiet place. You know, where all the semis park, it's always loud, but there's usually a back section you can go park in away from the semis. It's perfect as far as that goes. The horrible part is the heat.
The heat.
Yep.
The humidity. When we got up, because we had our air conditioning on, the windows were all dewy because it's hot outside, but it's cold in here. Anyway.
You hate to do that.
Yeah.
You hate to leave the truck running while you're sleeping in it, but
it's dangerous.
Yep. I had a friend die doing that. In fact, I gave his funeral talk. He doing the right thing, got tired, pulled off to the side of the road. It's wintertime, left the truck running for the heat, and
asphyxiated.
Yep, he died.
Left his family, had small children. It was a really sad deal.
Yep.
So when we get to the drop-off location, it's not too much farther. We'll video a little bit more of the unloading of the Fiat. I'm trying to get my...
It's on my side.
It's on your side. We're just taking our exit now for our drop. I hope it's not a bearing or something dumb like that. I wouldn't think it would be. Do you want to stop now and look, or just keep going? He's like telling you, you're screwed. We know.
The front one, it peeled off the tread. It didn't blow though. It's just the tread's making a mess.
It's this one?
Yeah, see the tread in there?
Oh, it came untreaded.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, well, do you want to change it here?
Nah, we'll just go.
It's like 3 miles. You can go that way.
Go ahead. Looks like it's going to the right home. And its final resting place for us is next to a Ferrari. That's pretty good company.
One of our best friends has a Ferrari.
How do you feel?
It's so hot down here. You know, I almost want to shed a tear. I
Can't tell from your big old goggles there.
I know. I just really like that little Fiat, but you know, you can't build everything. You can't have everything, and we need to make room. And I don't know. I just kind of want to build something else. But this guy seemed really happy. He didn't have to do much. I mean, I unloaded it.
Nope.
We unloaded it. Didn't have
Said
to
somebody
do
gave him thumbs up.
Yeah, so somebody was coming around the other side, some older gentleman, and he was, as I was driving up, and he was like giving me a thumbs up, like that thing is cool, you know.
Well, neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he gave me 100 euros. He's like, you need to go to Italy.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I put it in my bag, but we need to move because we're blocking up traffic, looks like, huh?
We're too used to the North Dakota way, which is you just pull up wherever,
Wherever you want.
hit the flashers and do whatever. But people are making do. They're going around.
Yeah.
All right. So we're ready?
Yeah, we need to find a place to change that tire before we get back on the interstate.
Okay. So actually the rubber flew out from under the tire, and I think we should just run that. That ain't the tire.
That looked like a palm tree branch.
Yep. But,
You're gonna run the tire like that?
yep. Another drop successful. Always feels good to have them all done.
Yeah, we're just free to do whatever. Like we can go home. We're probably gonna go to Tennessee and see Chad's sister for a day and see our nephews. That's a really bad view. Sorry, guys. Look at the bird. Look at the bird.
What bird?
There's a stork in there.
Oh yeah. It's kind of. When I was a kid, I lived in Fort Lauderdale.
Which is just a little ways more down the road. Down 95.
And it's, as I remember playing in I have one memory from Florida. And I remember it being our cul-de-sac having a little island like that in the middle of it. But I always thought I remembered pine trees and stuff in there. And I was like, man, my memory just must be messed up.
But now
Because
you see all these pine
I didn't think that there was pine trees and stuff, but I guess it's kind of odd for us because we've grown up around pine trees and cedars and whatever else. One of those things is pretty.
Those are pretty. Yeah, there was a sign that said Sandhill Crane Crossing.
Huh.
No, growing up in Idaho and in the Rockies, you know, you have pine trees on mountains.
But not any of those. It's funny to see all the different kind of plants, I guess.
Yeah, I love the green. I love different colors of green. And different textures of things like palms and leaves and needles. You have everything down here.
Well, that was pretty cool that we sold it to. I didn't even know who we sold it to. It turns out they're a European car.
This is who we sold it to, right here. They had all kinds of like BMWs and just European cars. That's what they specialize in.
Ferrari was sitting there, as you saw, which was kind of neat.
Anyway, I'm so grateful to have it done. It's all done. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, it is so pretty.
Last time we were down here, the guy had a coconut tree in his yard. We took a couple coconuts home with us. And by the way, those are a nightmare to get into. Just getting past the husk was more work than I wanted to do. So I turned loose on my nephews loosed on it.
With a hammer. They made a disaster too. Is this
Yeah, we
our
can see for a
route to
couple
turn
hours.
on?
It
I
must
think you
be.
turn left here.
Okay.
So how long are you gonna run the tire?
I'm gonna run that tire till it goes.
Well, it won't be long, and
Maybe.
I don't really feel like doing it on the interstate. Okay, I'm turning this off. Now we are just about, let's see, we're south of Savannah on I-95, and we're getting ready to go into a big thunderstorm. I don't know how bad it is, but
What's with all the bills down here, by the way? Jacksonville, Knoxville,
Nashville.
everything is a bill. Almost everything is a bill. Oh, now we're getting dark. We don't need these anymore.
I'm turning this off.
We had to end up changing the tire. It finally did go just as we entered into Georgia, so it made it from southern Florida all the way up to Georgia anyway. But it only takes like 5 minutes to throw on a new one, so good to go.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you're going through that. This. I just.
front, I'd turn on my fog. I bet you'd just shine the way like that.
Are you gonna try?
I should.
No, 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 you're gonna blind someone. No, you're gonna blind someone. It'll be too bright. There's enough of a problem. People are driving, what are you doing, 35 miles an hour?
Yeah.
That was a close strike. Did you hear that crack? So we are in South Carolina, north of Columbia. I think that's the town. The city, I should say.
Thank goodness we ran next to the windows. We don't have to have our windshield wipers on full even to see.
This is a severe thunderstorm warning, whatever that means. But it said penny-sized hail and like 50-mile-an-hour winds or something. It is so bright. This lightning is ridiculous. It's so funny to me because look at all the people parking. They're just gonna wait it out. I should turn my radar on and see what it looks like, but I'm videoing with this. I'll turn on. Oh my gosh.
That'll get some brake lights coming on.
Okay, I'm gonna turn my other camera on.
Leave it on.
That's funny. So I just turned this camera on. That's this Chad's phone. I'm gonna get on the radar and look at it one more time. And that way you guys can see what it looks like. It's terrible on the radar. We're about halfway through it now. This is what it looks like. We're that little blue dot. It's 83 degrees. Well, I'm glad we got a full tank of gas when we did. I mean, not gas, diesel. Amazing how bright those flashes are. They're right over us. You can hear that, the thunder. I don't know if you can see this as we're moving. My camera's not the best because it's just a phone. We're getting on the edge of it now, but everybody's like slowing way down. Is there an accident up here?
Like a stinking Christmas tree.
Everybody still has their flashes on. Is there an accident?
Maybe that lightning strike hit the middle of the road. Blew somebody's tires off.
Are your brights still on?
No,
No, you turned them off. That's a pretty serious storm though. I don't know if it's better to go through something like that at night, because then you could see brake lights a lot easier, or during the day. Want to try? You want me to? Huh?
How big is it?
I don't know. You want me to get out? So, all that holdup, this is what happened. If you can see this, if you can, right there, that's the top of a branch, like right there. A big tree got struck by lightning, and yeah, you can't see anything. Chad stopped in front of this police officer. I'm gonna turn this around. Okay, for some reason my phone wasn't videoing very much, and I'm not sure why, but we stopped. Now what's this all about? We stopped, Chad helped, I guess a tree got struck by lightning, fell, and then a car hit it.
There's more of them.
There's more branches. I wonder if something worse happened than just a...
A little tornado or something.
Yeah, maybe so. Anyway, Chad hooked a chain up to one of the branches and pulled it out of the street, or out of the interstate. And then he helped get all those branches just chucked over the guardrail.
There were like 3 trees that were down.
You won't be able to see him, just talk.
There were 3 trees that down, and one of them I grabbed onto and drug it, and drug another one just because it was across the road. And I just drug it because they only had one lane open, so that opened up the other lane. And then we were, with 2 police officers and another guy that showed up, we were able to roll the other 2 logs over the guardrail. Trees, not really logs, trees.
They were trees, yeah, full-on trees.
And then the last tree, which just about broke off my mirror when I pulled up, we were able to drag out of the, just push out of the way too by hand with the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Actually, it was only 2 of us did that when the cops were. One of the cops was really helpful. The other one was like, "This ain't my job."
Who can I give a ticket to? No, I'm just kidding. They're not that way, are they?
No, he started to get with it after a little while. At first, he was like, "I don't think we'll be able to do this." And then the 3 of us started doing it, and then he started helping.
Come on, serve and protect.
That's right. You got people out here trying to get it wherever they're getting to.
And now it's barely raining here.
Yeah.
Just so this is, I don't know if you can see that sign, Clinton, South Carolina, 15 miles is what that was. And we were just maybe what, the last 5-10 miles is where the storm was. South of that, I should say.
Before that, a guy was riding the curb and he ticked me off, so I might have given a payback to somebody else with the train horn that didn't deserve it.
Just try to get in. People get impatient when there's a backup, and it's like everybody is impatient, but the more impatience there is, nobody gets to go anywhere. You just stay in your lane and don't try to swerve back and forth. That's
the guy was driving down the shoulder.
Well, that's even worse, because that's where all the trees had fallen from, is from that side. Anyway, that's quite the event. You're like Superman, Chad. Come to the rescue.
Superman! All I'm missing is my cape. That's because it's too hot to wear anything, including my shirt. Oh, we're soaked now. Absolutely soaked.
I still have my bikini on from when we were at the beach. I mean, I'm wearing like a bikini cover thing over my swimsuit. So I guess I was meant to get wet with what I'm wearing. On to our next adventure.
Taking any videos here because my sister didn't want to be on video as far as being on record of giving any legal advice, but now we're leaving their place and heading back on the road.
It's early, it's like 7 o'clock. We'll have to drive all day, probably 17 hours.
Well, let's head out.
They live near a golf course and a lake, and there were some guys back there fishing this morning. This is this side. I don't think you can see that. The trees. No, definitely not. But this is what it looks like in front of us. Traffic. Big city life. It's sticky here. It's hot already. I think it must be around 80 degrees this morning or whatever. It's warm. I bet you they're gonna get some thunderstorms popping up. We're supposed to have a threat going home too between Missouri and Iowa, I think.
Oh, I hate traffic. I can't believe this is irritating. You know, it's what, 7 in the morning and ain't even rush hour yet.
Yeah.
This ain't even a big city. It's Knoxville. It ain't like this monstrous. Oh, I'm tired.
You haven't had your coffee yet. That's probably why.
That's right.
We're gonna stop and get some fuel here one of these years after we get past this traffic. There's like a junction, yeah, one interstate goes into the other, and once we get on I-40 that goes to Nashville, then we will find a diesel stop and get coffee and fill our cooler with ice and just get ready for the day. Get ready to sit for the day and drive all day is what I mean. Just left Knoxville maybe a half an hour ago. We got fuel and cinnamon rolls. These Cinnabon and coffee.
And my truck tack quit working. I don't know what the heck that's about. We don't need this garbage this earlier in the day.
More early in the trip. We still have, oops, sorry. We still have, I think it's about 20, well that really helps. It'll be like 17 hours.
Enjoy the view of the country.
23, I think it's 23 hours or 24 hours altogether to go home from now. So it's like 2 days.
We would probably video some going over the Smoky Mountains. That's a beautiful pass coming up over the top. That's a fun drive. One of these days we want to take the Dragon's Tail south of Knoxville there. But that Smoky Mountain drive is a lot of fun too.
It's beautiful. The only thing was, it was, 11 o'clock, midnight. You couldn't see anything even if I tried to record it. So this is our start of the day. And I got little Swiffer right here with her fork. Oh, she's so cute.
So where were we? Proverbs 26:5, I think is what it is. Reprove the stupid one according to his foolishness. The preceding verse says, don't reprove a stupid one according to his foolishness, basically because don't stoop to his level. As Jesus said, do what they say, not what they do. So don't stoop to their level and do what they're doing, but at the same time, use their reasoning against themselves. So when they say, oh, 2-witness rule, you can bring up the situation about the woman that was in the field. The circumstances dictated that she didn't need to have 2 witnesses. That's what the circumstances of the surroundings were. That there was not the possibility in the circumstance of having 2 witnesses. So they can be shown that their reasoning is not biblically correct. Beat them on their own level. Use the scriptures. Then they have nothing to stand on anymore. Not only are they legally at fault, they are biblically at fault. It's incorrect.
We're getting ready to go over our bridge in St. Louis and to see the skyline of downtown skyline. I can't hold this very easily in the truck, but there's the arch and downtown.
We're making pretty decent time.
We are making great time.
What time is it? It's
I don't know right now, but we're making good time. We've gained like 2 hours since we've started.
we're not really speeding either, so
You need to make sure you get on 70 West.
154.
Do you see that where it says 70 West?
So which right?
Yeah. You want to go to the right here, where it says 35 miles per hour.
Where it says detour.
Yeah. Everywhere we go is a detour. Our life is a detour.
Welcome to misery. You are now in a state of misery.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool building.
I love driving through here. We've done this road, I don't know, lots of times. Somebody's lost their branches. But I love these old buildings. I just like history. And there's some rich history in St. Louis. That building's been burned.
Yeah, there are a lot of buildings that are
Like falling
old
apart.
buildings that are falling apart here. They're not really doing anything much. Let's come here.
St. Louis Avenue. If any of you viewers are from St. Louis, leave us a comment. You don't have
Tell us about those old buildings.
Yeah, you
Why are
don't.
there so many old abandoned buildings? I mean, they're beautiful buildings.
Some more over here. No, that's not a very good sight. That is a big church.
I mean, did they have that much industry here that's not abandoned? That's just abandoned now, or what? Now, this is a gas station. This is the way they ought to be. These fuel stops. This isn't even the diesel side. I don't know where we're at, but the gas stations here, the fuel stations are awesome. Look at how huge this is. Tons of room in between. I mean, that guy's probably got a 45 footer. That's a huge trailer. Huge trailer. Great gas station.
This is harvest. We'll have more video of harvesting here through the season. We're almost home now. This is what our scenery looks like at home. Outside our town, a little ways. It's just flat, but it's all agriculture. I'll show you this way. Literally, there's nothing around, nothing. And it's awesome. There's nothing. Don't have to deal with people. Don't have to deal with crime.